Hi, I'm Tammy,
And I'm Dave.
and today we want to talk about delicate fabrics. So, Dave, will you please explain to us why we're talking about this now?
Good question, Tammy. So we want to go over a new issue. We've published something new in the price catalog, and it has to do with guaranteeing your quotes. And we realized that we really want to see photographs of fabrics when you submit a quote request. We realize this is the final key to us having all the information we need. So we've added a page to our price catalog. It looks like this. It's page 16 in the price catalog. And we are saying that in order to guarantee your quotes, we need to see photos of your material. We believe that this is not too much of a difficulty in this time, 2023. There's pictures all over the internet of all of these fabrics, and this is going to help us to look out for certain kinds of fabrics, and that's what we're here to talk about today, as well as one category of trim. So why don't we go through these different types of fabrics and talk about them individually, but let me say the reason for all of this concern is we want to give you an accurate quote, and in order to do that we have different charges because for some of these fabrics we just simply can't put them through our machines. And therefore we have to hand sew the side hems and the bottom hems, and we have a different charge for that. That is reasonable. That's nothing new. This has been the way it is. But we're just trying to tighten this up so we make sure that we can give you a really accurate quote. And then there's a second issue with the trim, and that is the case where when you have a flat trim and has any width to it at all, past a half inch or so, we end up sewing it twice. And we don't charge double, so we're giving you a kind of a bargain, but we do have a higher price level for sewing those wider flat trims. So that's a secondary issue that goes right along with these certain types of fabrics. Let's go ahead and talk about these different kinds of fabrics, Tammy. Why don't we start off and you can tell us all about that. You have expertise. You've been doing this for a long time, out experiencing this from an artisan's point of view once upon a time.
Yes, and I still sew at home, so.
You still sew at home, and
Yes, I do.
you're my expert in this area. And let's begin and let's talk about velvet fabrics and why those are difficult. Those pose difficult problems with actually using a sewing machine.
Okay, let me get my show and tell here. Okay, so the first one that we have is a velvet that has been machine sewn. There is an indentation that runs down right beside it, beside where the hem is folded.
So
Okay.
it's as if there's two marks down the fabric instead of
Correct.
a single, hopefully more or less invisible hemline. There's an extra.
There's an extra indentation where it glides through the machine, through the feed dogs that are on the machines. And a feed dog is,
Tell me about dogs. I want to know about the and when we're going to feed the dogs.
oh, trust me, no dogs are being fed here and no dogs are being harmed in the midst of this video. But a feed dog is a little plate that is on the top of a blind stitch machine. As you're going through, it acts as a presser foot, and it has little teeth on the bottom of it.
Ouch. Normally that's fine,
Normally that's fine,
but with velvets,
but velvets, it tends to scar it.
okay.
And you can see the indentation going right down where the edge of the side hem is. And then on the back side of your fabric, it leaves little holes where the feed dog actually was placed.
Now this is a small sample that doesn't
Correct.
have lining, but you would see the same kind of problem with the lined drapery as well.
Correct. Now this one I have hand sewn.
And when you say do you mean you personally?
Yes,
Wow.
I personally hand sewed
I'm
this.
so impressed right now. I'm serious.
I personally hand sewed this. There's no marking where I I didn't put it through a machine, so there's no marking there. And then there's no marking on this side. It's nice, neat, no scarring, no bite marks where the needle has picked up the fabric, to help it go through the machine. But Dave, I do have a question.
Okay.
If they test the fabric to see if it's going to be hand sewn,
Sure.
are those hand sewing charges going to be taken off?
Oh, you mean if we quote something, but then we don't perform that service?
Yes, sir.
That's a great
Yes,
question.
sir.
No, we'll do everything we can to remove a charge if there's something that we didn't do.
Okay.
We do want to catch this. It's not, what we're going to do is we're going to just be judging fabric photos. There's also another thing that could happen is we do our best to judge a fabric and we don't see something when we quote it. And what we tend to do as a company is we always stand by our quotes. So if we miss something, we're not going to call you in the middle of the process and say, by the way, oh gosh, sorry, we're going to have to charge you because we're doing this. We're just going to go ahead and do it in that instance. And speaking of standing by our quotes, one of the most important things at Stevenson Vestal, in my opinion, is that we are able to give accurate quotes that we can stand behind all the way to the end. And so we just want to make sure your quote matches your invoice, ideally, bearing in mind that sometimes quotes evolve as they go along, and we have another process right in the middle that we call our order confirmation, and that's the moment when it's the order is released to the workroom, and we want that always to match the invoice. So by the time we've gotten all of the questions shaken out, we don't want to revisit any issues with you as a customer and have to say, oh, by the way, we had to do something extra. But we will say, oh, by the way, we didn't have to do something, and we'll take that charge off. So that was a long answer.
We have another fabric to go through.
No, we have some more to
yes,
talk about.
we
We
have
have
two,
two more
actually.
categories of
Yes.
fabrics. We've gotten through the first one. Let's talk about open weaves. Tell me about open weaves. What does that even mean? Open in what way?
Okay.
What is an open weave?
Now keep in mind, this is just a sample, and it is fabric. It's not trim.
It's very, very slender.
Yes.
But we got a slender sample of an open weave fabric.
Correct. The holes are very large, as you can see.
So it has holes. So when we say open weave, that is
Open
implying
weave.
it's holy.
It's very holy.
So there's just air.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And there again, when they turn the side hem in and then they double it and it goes through the machine, well, the needle doesn't have very much to catch because of the holes. And there again, on the blind stitch machine, the feed dog acts as a presser foot, but it goes through the groove and then the feed dog is on top. Well, those teeth pull it through, and the bottom section may drop down just a little, like this, and see that hole, it'll get caught.
So it sounds to me like, to sum up that situation, that the fabric is just snagging in the machine.
Correct.
Is that right?
Correct. And a lot of times, in this situation with this big holy fabric, this would actually get torn. And we would leave a hole.
So despite us being disgruntled that we're dealing with our machines and we're trying to keep them in good working order, the real problem is, the real problem is we want to make a quality product, but in terms of what's at risk, we do not want to put our customers' fabric at risk and damage their fabric.
Correct.
One of our key objectives here is to safeguard your material, and it's one of the most important functions we have as a company, as a COM workroom. So that's super important to us.
Yes. Now, and like I said, this is ideal for hand sewing. This would absolutely have to be hand sewn.
Just pretty much has to. So
Yes.
you see large holes.
And there's some that are even larger than this. So
Now let me ask you a question. The way that we are phrasing this part of, when we're talking about this in our price catalog, we publish this, we're talking about some open weaves.
Some.
So you're showing us one sample that has large holes in it. So why are we just saying some open weaves are subject to this hand sewing of the hems?
Good question, because my next sample, the holes are not very large,
Okay,
and it will go through the machine pretty good.
that particular fabric was
This-
okay.
If the open weave is a very small open weave like this one, it goes through the machine, and it looks really nice and flat. It didn't get snagged.
Okay.
It went through very nice. So yeah, just you have to be really careful with those open weaves because they are very tiny to very large.
It seems like in our business, Tammy, that we have this whole world of different fabrics, and we want to be the masters of our domain and know exactly what we're doing, but there's a lot of gray area, isn't there? There's a lot of, well, this particular fabric is one way, and that particular fabric is another way. But again, what we think we can do is we think that we can successfully identify from a fabric photo which is which in terms of, in this instance, you know, how big these holes are, so to speak, in these open weaves, right?
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
Anything else about that, or should we move on to the
Let's move
last
on.
category of fabrics? There's a third one that we've talked about and published in our price catalog for some time that causes this same kind of problem, and that's fabrics with either sequins or studs. I think you've got some samples of sequins. Tell us about this sort of group, this sort of type of fabric.
Oh yes, my granddaughters love for me to have this in my sewing room at home. This
So big, and probably because it's shiny. anything
very shiny. Yes,
that's
they're
very attractive.
yes,
it's
they're at
shiny.
that age where if it's shiny, it's they gotta have it. So yes, this particular fabric is what I call apparel fabric. It does have a sequin on it, but it's very flat.
Sometimes we get dress goods in to make draperies out of, but this could also represent a fabric that is a drapery fabric.
Correct.
And it has the same issues.
Because I mean, you can make valances for a little girl's room out of this, you know, or draperies. But there again, this sequin is very flat, and so when the hem is turned, this went through the machine very well.
Okay.
No, you know, it's very nice and flat, and no puckering, no snags. But there again, you know, you have some that the sequin is raised, and it's very bumpy, you know, and when when it goes through the blind stitch machine, if that sequin is right on the very edge of the fold, that needle will grab the sequin, and it will possibly break the needle and shred your fabric.
And again, the thing we really care about is that fabric.
Correct.
And we can feel sad about our needles, but we really want to look out for customers' fabric.
Yes, we do not want to have to dig this out of a machine that it's crumpled up in, because it will leave a hole, and we don't want that. The other sequin fabric that I have is what I call fish scale.
Maybe the fish and the dogs can get together and, no, I'm being silly, okay.
The fish scale sequin is just simply, you know, the sequin moves up.
I really
and-
got to try that.
and
Let me try it.
down.
What are you doing there? Oh.
You've seen these pillows in stores that are made out of this with different colors and stuff, and kids just love going by it and just going like this. So, but
Okay.
this particular fabric absolutely will not go through the machine, because number one, it's very stretchy and the sequins are so close together. Number two, the sequin is made out of metal.
Oh,
So when a needle hits this, it's going to break the needle. It's going to damage the fabric. it's just not going to go through the machine at all. So yes, this one would definitely have to be hand sewn as well.
Okay. And we talk about fabrics with sequins or studs, so there's a similar problem with fabric that has any kind of stud that would be some little object that the machines kind of choke on,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Okay, so I believe those are the three categories of fabrics that we have identified. We're just to be clear about what it is that we're asking for regarding quotes and guaranteeing your quotes by having you send photos. We really just want to see photos of all your materials. We have other reasons why we might want to see the materials. We're really looking out for these things. We're going to get to the trim in a minute. But we're not asking you to judge whether something needs a photo. We're just saying, you know, let's just see photos of all the fabrics. We just need all the information in order to give you an accurate quote. And so that's the way we're asking
Yes.
for that. So shifting slightly to a related topic, we also are interested in seeing photos of trims, and there's sort of a whole world of trims. Some of them have a lip with tassels and so forth, and the lip might be decorative, or it might be something that's intended to be or can be sewn in a seam and not seen. And then there's just a whole variety of those. So there's brush fringe, and then there's this interesting category of these flat trims. And some of them can get quite wide. And you've got an example here, and let's talk about that and exactly what the challenge is for the artisan, and why this is going to seem pretty logical, but what's the deal with having to sew twice?
Okay, so you have your side hem in, you have this gorgeous trim on it, and you have it sewn one time. Well, when it's hanging in your window, you're going to have floppy dog ears.
That's not something. Oh, wait. There's dog feeds.
Feed dogs.
Feed dogs. Feed dogs. And now you're telling me about dog ears.
Dog ears, yeah, they're
Oh,
floppy.
these
You know,
dogs are everywhere.
if
All
you
right.
don't sew
Let
this,
the dogs out.
Exactly.
Who let the dogs out? All right. Somebody shouldn't have let the dogs out. Here's what you're saying.
Right.
So
So,
anyway, that would be flapping in the breeze.
correct.
All right. Well,
And we don't want that. We want that quality product
that seems really
that
nice.
is going to look spectacular in your home or office. So that's why they sew this down twice.
And I have been involved in trying to determine how to shape this for the price catalog, Tammy, and we went through several sort of thought processes, and we're down to a half inch or more of width right now, because we recognize that a flat trim doesn't have to be very wide in order for us to know we really need to sew. We really need to sew it twice. And I think that's a pretty clear issue.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think we've about covered it. I don't know about you, but I feel like there's dogs, like it's raining cats and dogs, or it might be raining fish and dogs, because we had fish
Well,
scales.
you know, it can't be cats because the cats will, go after the fish. So,
The cats are going to go after the fish, but the fish might swallow the dogs because they're No, this
it
is
just
not going to
depends.
work out.
Nah,
Okay. All right. I think we've about covered it.
I think so.
So I think that's all for this time. I guess all that's left to say is see you next time, folks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.